Approval of minutes, discussion and possible action on December 13th, 2021 Public Works Committee meeting minutes.
I took a look at them and I will make the motion to approve the 12/13/2021 minutes.
I will second that. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The Public Works minutes are approved. We are moving on to comments and suggestions from citizens present. And I'm not sure if we have anybody on the line, do we? I don't see anybody, so we will move past the comments and suggestions to new business. So our first order of new business is discussion and possible action to approve a 3-year agreement with Rain to Rivers. So Mike, did you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit about it. Obviously, since the city of Hudson has become a MS4 permittee city back in 2016, we have hitched our wagon to the Rain to Rivers Coalition, which is a Western Wisconsin coalition of various cities that are also required to submit MS4 permits. So that includes Eau Claire, Menominee, River Falls, Eau Claire County, to name a few, Rice Lake. But anyways, what the consortium does, or the coalition does, is it helps pool resources together to communicate to the public via website postings, videos. There's some advertising at like the Hobbs Ice Center in Eau Claire, and all these things that this consortium does is it helps us achieve meeting the communication or public education outreach aspect of our MS4 permit. So I'm able to use a lot of the things that River Falls does or Menominee does and use that for our permit as well, and vice versa. The stuff that I do helps with their permit. But it's a great resource for the city, and we pay $2,000 a year to be a part of it. The expense comes out of the stormwater utility, and it is money well spent. It's a monthly meeting. We get together, we discuss various topics that are related to stormwater in each community. We can bounce ideas off each other, and then we also work together to put on special programming. We're actually doing one this upcoming spring on pond maintenance. We just got done doing one on salt best practices and salt practices. It was over in Eau Claire, and a lot of local municipalities and area townships can sign up for that.
Thanks, Mike. And you are looking for approval, am I right, to extend the membership?
Correct.
For a 3-year period, it looks like.
I personally have no questions, so I'm happy to make the motion unless, Paul, you have any questions before I make the motion?
No, I think you're good to go.
Okay. I would like to approve a 3-year agreement with Rain to Rivers.
I would second. And any discussion? I guess, Mike, the only thing I want to say is it looks like a great resource. It sounds like we've been involved in it. It sounds like it's been super helpful for you and probably other communities. So I think it's a great resource for us, and encourage you to keep at it with that. So thank you for doing that. Any other discussion? All in favor of extending the membership 3 years, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. We are moving on to the review of the 2022 project schedule.
Yeah, so at the last council meeting, I had brought this up to Mr. DeZiel to put this on the agenda. Basically what it is it kind of just outlines or highlights the projects that myself and Dean will be working on over the course of the next year. I've listed them out on the issue sheet and kind of given you what we have budgeted, whether that's in the CIP or in general operating, because there are various locations where the money's come from. And then it kind of just gives you an idea, like I said, of what we're trying to accomplish this next year. So one of the variables obviously is the continued discussion with the transportation utility. As that kind of progresses here over the next few months, that might dictate whether or not we try to take some more projects on. But Dean and I were just talking about that here this last week. Even if we do start implementing it here, if it gets passed and starts being implemented, we might wait until 2023 to recommend doing any projects for that. So with that, I guess, I don't know if you just kind of want to go from the top down, and I can just briefly describe them, or Dean could briefly describe them. If you have any questions, that's why we're here to discuss these and answer any questions that you have. The last thing that I'll say is, over the course of the next couple of months, whether it's Dean, whether it's outside consulting firms, we'll be bringing forward plans for some of these projects that will come to Public Works Committee for approval, review and approval, which will go on in front of council for final approval and then authorization to bid. So a lot of these projects will be bid out. We're gonna try and lump as much of them together, so we're not doing 800 different bids, right, Dean? Maybe try to overlap some of them.
That would be ideal, but you never know how that'll all work out.
Yeah.
So my quick question, do we already have the 2022 bonding? Has that already been approved previously?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. And then on the street maintenance piece where this says the 490,000, is that the same list we looked at maybe a couple months ago, Dean? Refresh my memory on that.
Yeah, so the street maintenance Mike has as listed here is our kind of typical like crack seal coat type stuff. So kind of what we did on Crestview Drive and Gateway Boulevard this past year, or Hagen Street and Wisconsin Street the year before, that kind of thing. We upped the amount this year because we feel that kind of proactive maintenance is a lot more bang for our buck, so to speak, rather than letting streets get to a point where it needs to be, repaved. Keeping them from getting to that point is money well spent, we think. So that $490,000, is probably about double what we did this past year. And for example, some of the streets that we're looking to do this year, and this would have been on that list you're probably thinking of, Paul, would be Cooley from 11th to 11th to Carmichael, I believe. Grandview Drive from Laurel to Vine, and O'Keefe Road from the whole way, essentially. I think there are a few more on that list too, but some of our more major streets we haven't done this to yet, to keep them in good shape. So if we do adopt the transportation utility, and obviously that's still a wild card at this point in time, we would probably be looking to add a few more to that list. But yeah, that kind of depends on that funding. So
okay. Now my other question for maybe both you guys is the American Rescue Plan Act, those funds that I believe I saw an email in the past week, we're going to be getting like something like 1.5 or almost 1.5 million, but that can be spent on it sounds like almost anything. Is that correct? And if that's true, what I'm wondering is if we could put some of that money into or it says pending transportation utility, and maybe that might be a source for doing some of those roads in the next year or something. I guess I don't know when the money comes through. You guys might know the details on that more. So I was just gonna see if that's a possibility as well.
Yeah, it's funny you mention that because Mike and I were just talking about this over lunch today. So the government essentially has kind of opened up, it seems, the availability of using that money for more things than they initially had earmarked them for. So that's a good thing. Obviously, when the time comes, it'll have to be a conversation for city council as to what exactly they'd like to, as a whole, fund with that approximately $1.5 million. Obviously, we've got a lot of needs in our community, so probably be split, between a few different things, I would guess. I would certainly advocate for at least some of this money going towards, infrastructure maintenance and whatnot, as we know we have a need for that. As far as the timing goes, Mike may know more about this, but I don't believe we know for sure when we're getting that money still, which is kind of unfortunate because it'd be nice to know now when we're going to get that money so that we can plan accordingly. And unless, Mike, if you have anything else to input to that.
No, I just know, Paul, you might had brought this up at the last council meeting, correct? For Aaron to look into, I believe.
I think I think Randy also might have mentioned
Okay.
it. So,
Yeah, I know Aaron's doing some legwork on, kind of the schedule, payout schedule, so on and so forth. So hopefully he has something for the next council meeting, because I haven't heard as far as when the city would actually have money in hand to put towards projects.
Is
Okay.
that, just to follow up on that question, is that something you guys will advocate for and we can help affirm? Can you give us a sense on that? Or is that something we should be advocating for on our own when we're in the council meetings?
So I think the best way to probably go about doing it is, the government, federal government has been talking about this payment for a long time now. It's probably been over a year where they, first introduced it and still haven't gotten the payout. So I know there's been a lot of discussions between various committees themselves about what this money could be used for. And I know council members have made requests at council meetings, whether it's, splash pad at some point in time. We discussed that at park board. I know there's some, maintenance upgrades for air exchange units at the library or city hall. So I think what I envision Aaron doing is having department heads submit requests that will be brought forward to the council for them to review. And then at that time, council would also have input based upon what they're hearing from their constituents to add or subtract anything, and have to rank and prioritize the projects. And as well as I do, 1.5 million sounds like a lot, but it gets eaten up in a hurry with some of these larger projects, so they'll just kind of have to weigh out, if we get $100,000 or $200,000 for more road maintenance, great. I mean, if we'll certainly advocate for trying to appropriate some of that money towards road maintenance, or maybe towards the Hagen Street Bridge grant submittal or something like that.
mhm.
Thank you.
And Mike, are you looking for just discussion tonight? There's no real action that I'm seeing on the prep sheet here.
Correct. Just general discussion, just keeping you in the loop as far as what's coming down the pipe. No
Yeah.
pun intended.
I think it looks good. I mean, I think Dean is still, if I'm right, Dean, you're kind of working with more of the long range ideas or the long range planning. So
Yep.
that would be kind of the question mark on that, correct? And that might be some of the things we would look at for that ARPA money too. So.
Yep.
Okay, that sounds good. Is there anything specific that we can help you with on that list tonight, Mike? Or are you good with
No, not necessarily. Just like I said, keeping you in the loop, showing what's available for funds, what we already have earmarked for those projects. So kind of give you an idea of what we have available.
Mhm.
Okay, Sarah, did you have any more questions on that? Good.
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a great list, and when I looked at it earlier today, I was thinking this is great. This is some really significant improvements in the community, and I think depending on if we can get some more of that other funding, I think keep moving forward. So what I'm thinking in my mind was it's a good ambitious list, and we can keep adding to that. But I love the direction that you guys are going, and I love the idea of preventative maintenance with hitting those roads with the crack sealing and whatnot before they get in such a bad shape. So I think that's what the research supports too, is you got to keep those roads up, right? And then they last a lot longer. So
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you guys on that. I think we're moving on to our next agenda item, which is review of proposed public works meeting schedule.
Yep. So now that the city council verified their meeting schedule for the entire year, I put together the public works schedule, which was in your packet. So just looking for general motion to approve it. Obviously, Between myself and the chair, reserve the right to move it if a conflict arises in the future, if that's unforeseen, or we don't have enough agenda items, we can kind of combine two into one. But this at least give you a general outline of the upcoming schedule.
That sounds good, Mike.
And
I
if
know,
oh,
go
sorry.
ahead.
If I may interrupt, we're gonna add that special meeting on Thursday, January 20th, 5:30 to 6:30 to talk about the long-term funding. I don't know if it necessarily has to be part of this motion or anything, but just wanted to put that date out there as well.
I think that's good to mention so that, just the public is aware of that too. We can add that on. So the April one, I should know the answer to this, Mike, but the April 18th date, I'm assuming is working around probably a city council organizing meeting or something like that, correct?
Yeah, elections and then organizational meeting. Yeah, it was a tough month.
Okay, that's what I thought.
That January 20th meeting that's being added for infrastructure, so that will be posted on the website and the agenda will be out 20. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. So I took a peek at it. I think it looks great. I'll make the motion that we approve the 2022 Public Works Committee schedule.
I'm going to second. Sarah, do you want to add a friendly amendment just to include the January 20th meeting on the schedule?
Absolutely. Can we please add in that January 20th meeting that we're going to be adding as well?
And I will re-second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Hi.
Aye. Opposed? The schedule passes. I think, are we on updates? I'm going from one thing to the other. Yes, old business. I think the only thing we have are our project updates. So the Hagen Street Bridge design.
Yeah, so I guess I can start with this. We've been working with our consultant Strand Associates on brainstorming / kind of refining some alternatives for the Hagen Street bridge replacement and related intersection improvements. As you guys know, we've brought Strand Associates on board to help us through this process. Right now, we're in the essentially the design alternatives phase, where we're kind of brainstorming, possible alternatives to see what would be the best solution for that area. Our consultant had some kind of more traditional options and more unconventional options. And so we kind of been talking back and forth about, what to bring forward to the public and to this committee and city council as far as, options that are based in reality. We don't want to, put something out there and it not be, a good idea, so to speak, as far as our professional expertise tells us. But we also want to make sure that we're not narrowing down, stuff on our own before, or too much before we've had the input from both you guys as elected officials and also the broader community as well. So we are holding a few meetings with the public coming up. On Thursday, February 3rd, we are inviting kind of the property owners that are immediately surrounding the bridge and the intersection improvements, just to kind of present the options that we have before us and talk about some more specific things related to impacts to their particular properties that we want to make sure that we've thought about prior to making a decision on which option we're going to go with. On Wednesday, February 9th, we'll be holding a more broadly attended, so to speak, public informational meeting for everybody who wants to know more about the project and the alternatives and that kind of thing. Both those meetings will be at the fire station. We sent out notices to those immediately surrounding properties late last week, and so they're probably actually getting them either today or tomorrow. And then we'll also be sending out kind of some more broad community-wide notices about the February 9th meeting pretty soon here too. At next month's Public Works Committee meeting, we'll be talking through again some of those options, alternatives, and pros and cons and that kind of thing. We'll be not necessarily looking for formal action, but just kind of to bounce those things off of you guys to see if there's any lingering questions or whatnot that we can answer, either at that meeting or at council. And then we'd be hoping to take it to city council on February 21st or sometime thereafter. So that's kind of the future schedule here. And I can certainly pass along any information as we receive it, but our consultant partners are plugging away right now at making some pretty pictures for us and making some visualizations about how traffic would flow through the various alternatives to help people kind of understand in a visual way how these things would work. So that is where we're at with that project. Any questions on that?
Sounds like a great plan. Step forward. Sorry, Sarah. Just wondering about the times on Thursday, February 3rd and Wednesday, February 9th.
Yeah, I believe they're starting at 6:00 p.m. And then, until whenever people want to leave. But yeah, we're starting the presentations around 6 p.m. probably till 7 or 8 or something like that. So
Will there be a Zoom link for people who would rather not attend in person to watch or something? Or is it going to be recorded for a later play date?
We could probably record it. I don't know at this point if the fire station is set up for a Zoom meeting at this point. I don't know. I'll have to kind of figure that one out, but we can certainly, I think, record it.
Okay.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea, Sarah.
Online. Yeah.
And when you do have those meetings, I know I've heard from somebody, they saw this on the agenda for tonight. So I did hear from a resident. I'm assuming for those meetings, you'll have the architect's rendering and all the plans kind of in place.
Yeah, so for the meeting, we'll have essentially the layouts for each of those options printed out in a bigger size so people can kind of see it easily. Also, we'll have it, up on the screen. We'll be doing a presentation as well, and then talking through some of the pros and cons and things that we see with this and whatnot. So yeah, I guess that's probably what I anticipate that we'll be doing at those meetings. But
would you recommend, I know that I will plan to go to the one on the 9th because that's more the public one, but just assuming it will first come to the Public Works Committee, do you think it'd be wise for us both to be there on that to the one on the 3rd as well, just so we know residents' perspectives?
We could probably notice the meeting on the 3rd for a quorum.
Gotcha. Of course.
Yeah. I definitely was going to notice the one on the 9th for a quorum, but we can probably notice the one on the 3rd as well. So
that's okay. If Paul's, because I know it's more in Paul's district, if Paul's there, I can circle back with him and see about. Oh wait, is that a quorum too? Or can I talk? Can I talk to?
I think just between you two, I think it's probably fine.
All right. Okay.
So, wait, the 3rd and the 9th, you said, right?
Yep. Thursday the 3rd.
So
and
I will.
Wednesday the 9th. Yep.
Okay, so I can be at the one on the 3rd, but I can't be at the one on the 9th due to work things. So Sarah, I think you should, if you want to go to the one on the 9th, I think you're in good shape.
We can just keep each other in the loop of what we hear.
Yeah, I think we'll eventually catch up with it at the next Public Works meeting. I think the 14th of February after that. So we can start the process, kind of some of what we heard and see what the public had to say about it and whatnot. So
that's great.
Okay, thank you, Dean, for that update. I think it's a great, what I want to say, rhythm or plan to get the feedback we need. And then it sounds like the February 21st is really where you're shooting for more of a discussion at the whole city council.
Yeah, just to give you a little look into the future, I guess. The reason why we would want to take it to council sooner than later is that first of all, it gives our consultant direction to move forward sooner than later, and kind of hearing through the grapevine that if we're able to get the design, whatever design we choose, to a point, it's called 30% plans. So essentially like the rough layout of the plans and that kind of thing. At that point, we would be able to start applying for grants. And so, excuse me, after talking with our consultants, it probably would be about 2 to 3 months of a process to get to that point, from the time that we approve a option to the time where they'd be to a point where we could start applying for those grants. So want to make sure that we're not, if something comes up or comes out, so to speak, for grant opportunities, that we're able to take advantage of it as soon as possible. And so making a decision on an option as soon as possible is good for that. Obviously, if the council has a lot of follow-up questions that we need to address before everybody can make an informed decision, obviously we'll not want to rush that through. We want to make sure that everybody has all their questions answered and their points of clarification figured out and all that good stuff. So,
okay. And we might know more about that ARPA money too by then too. So that might help if that's part of the equation or something. If there's a slice or something that could go toward that too, who knows? Mm-hmm. Okay, we're moving on to the next update, library. Was it the damage update?
Yep. So kind of a continuation from last month's meeting. We have a meeting with Market and Johnson on Friday of this week to review the plans and specifications prior to it being brought to council on next Tuesday. So on next Tuesday, the council will take action on authorizing them to go out for bid for the project. And so that kind of sets the wheels in motion. We're probably at Friday's meeting, we're going to discuss if it's going to be like a 2-week or a 3-week bid process, because it is such a larger kind of unique repair. We're going to have Market and Johnson kind of take the lead on it and make their recommendations. They might recommend 3 weeks, might recommend 4 weeks, based upon what they're seeing in the market. But anyways, so, you look at basically bidding in late January, early February, maybe bringing back bids the second meeting in February to council for approval, a couple weeks to kind of get the ducks in a row with the contracts. Then you're looking kind of late February, early March before actual construction starts. So still going to be about a 2-month process before we see crews in town and starting to work on the actual buildings. So I just want to let you guys know that's kind of the process, and it will be on the January 18th council meeting for authorization to bid.
And Mike, that's mostly the repairs are going to be paid for by insurance. Is that, we talked about that, I think, last meeting or something?
Yes. Yeah. Majority of them are being paid for by insurance.
Okay. All right. Any other updates that?
I just want to mention too, we kind of started talking about the 3rd Street Hill project, but I've been starting to work on getting some of those plans put together. We'll be kind of waiting to hear about the grant success, if we have had success, in early March. So just getting everything ready, hopefully with good news in March, so we can get moving on getting it out to bid and stuff too. So
okay.
We will probably be having a neighborhood informational meeting for that project as well. Most likely late February, early March, just to inform the people who are living up there what's happening. So don't have a date on that yet, but probably by next month's meeting, we'll know when that's going to happen.
Okay. Sarah, any questions you have on the updates?
Nope, I don't. Thanks for asking.
Yep. And then future agenda, it looks like community composting. And that's something that I think that Sarah, you had brought up before. We want to get back to that, it sounds like.
Well, I think, and thanks, Mike, for putting this, and Paul, or whoever put it on here. I think we had talked about making sure we brought it up in midwinter, because when we had reached out with Waste Management, they had asked us to, well, they ask is probably a strong word, but they had indicated that we'd be fine to circle back early spring and start, revisiting the topic. So I think it's just to make sure it stays on the radar.
Yeah.
Mike, I did have a question. I was watching the diversity meeting and they had mentioned something about Polco. So I don't know if if the city has restarted that, because I think you had shared early on that might be a good way to get a pulse of residents, what their perspectives were on composting.
Yeah, I'll circle back with Mike Johnson. I know it's a subscription service
Mhm.
and they use it for the comprehensive plan.
Yeah,
I think they let the subscription lapse, but I'll double check with him. But it would be a good resource, like you said, to survey the residents and get a rough idea of kind of how many people would support some type of program.
yeah.
I'll make a note.
If we just happen to have it, I was thinking, oh, maybe we did sign up for it again. So
Okay, I'll check.
thanks.
Okay, anything else that we need to cover? I think we're at the end of the agenda, huh?
Good.
Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make the motion to adjourn. Thanks to see everybody.
Second, all in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you guys for your work. Appreciate it.
Have a great